5 versus 5? What kind of sicko is running this rumble? Hey, is there a doctor on hand? Ask it for my opponents. Wait, hold up. Are we getting paid for this?
Hey guys, welcome back. We are playing Sett top today. It is a bruiser known to be a pretty safe blind pick in the top lane because of his ability to do well into most matchups. If you're wondering why I'm not using lethal tempo, I definitely think it's OP, but I also think that it's going to get nerfed soon. And if it does get nerfed, then we will definitely be going back to the Conqueror, because Sett is not as reliant on the attack speed compared to something like a Yasuo or Tryndamere. So your passive, it makes you alternate between a left and a right punch. Every single time your right punch comes out, it's going to come out a lot faster. It also gives you that extra auto attack range, and it also deals more damage. So make sure that whenever you trade, you always make sure to get that right punch in. The other part of your passive gives you that free health regen, and that's going to increase based on missing health. So of course it's a lot stronger when you're low HP, and also lets you sustain into those more difficult matchups. So start with your E, that's going to pull in targets, and if you pull in targets from both sides, then it's going to stun. So that makes your trading really strong already from level 1, guys. So what you want to do is that as soon as you have it up, you want to walk up and aggressively zone away the enemy champion. Whenever they try to last hit a minion, that's when you E them. Make sure there's a minion behind you so you get the stun off. And then you can get 2 quick auto attacks off, maybe even more if you're going to win the trade. And then just back off. So it allows you to go for some really easy trades. So you really want to make sure that you abuse that. Your Q is going to empower your next auto attacks, and it also works as an auto attack reset. You want to get 2 normal auto attacks in, and then you immediately press Q so you can reset the last auto attack. So get the damage off a lot faster. On top of that, your Q also makes it so the next 2 auto attacks deals bonus damage based on the target's maximum health. So it's a champ that can do well into those tankier matchups. And your W makes it so you store grid based on the damage you have received. And then you can use that W to expand all of that grid to deal damage and also get a shield. And if you hit people in the center of that W, it is going to deal true damage. So what I did earlier here to get the kill on the Orianna, that was the W plus flash. That is a move that you can use if you want to catch the people off guard. If you can finish them with a single W, then you can do this because it's very hard to react to. So if you look at how I'm playing, I'm really walking far up, trying to zone him away from the minion wave. And if he ever walks up, guys, then I'm ready to E him, get that stun off, get a couple auto attacks off, and then I finish off the combo with a W. Typically in your combo, you want to use that W in the end because it will allow it to deal a lot more damage. The damage is based on the damage you have received, so you really want to make sure that this grid bar is stored fully up, or at least close to that before you use it, so you can like get the maximum amount of damage off. So we're sitting on a double kill and a double buff, and that's basically the power of Prio, because we were able to shove in the Shen, we were also able to move first, so it allowed us to pick up 2 really easy double kills. So this game I'm going to show you the more carry heavy Sett build. It's really strong if you want to solo carry the games by yourself. It gives you a lot of damage. You're a little bit less tanky, but you have way more damage. So you can really destroy the opponent in a 1 versus 1. Your W also works as the wave clear, but be really careful using that, guys, because this is the ability that the opponent will be playing around. So if you miss it, then you also will not have the shield up, and that's when the opponent can engage onto you. So be really careful when you use it, and do not just waste it. So now we have the ultimate up. It is a suppression ability that is going to pick up the target and then knock them into the ground, also dealing AoE damage to anyone else that's nearby. And the damage, guys, scales off the target's bonus health. So it becomes extremely OP if you can use it on something like a Cho'Gath and then knock him into his team. That is going to hit like a nuke, because they will also receive that extra damage based on the target's bonus health. So that's how you want to use it in teamfights. You can of course, if you can one-shot somebody, then of course you can also use it on a squishy target. But the best case scenario is that if you can pick up a tanky target and then knock that person into the rest of his team, that's going to almost guarantee a one fight. And it is a suppression ability, meaning that they cannot cleanse it. They need to have something like a QSS or a GPSW. That's the only kind of stuff that's going to work against this ult. And as I said earlier on, it deals damage based on the target's primary bonus health, and then also based on your bonus AD. So make sure that if you have the chance in teamfights, find the tanky target and then try to knock that target into the rest of his team. If you do that, you're going to win the teamfight 100%. It is a lane bully Sett, guys. He can do well, as I said earlier on. He can do well into a lot of matchups. So if you watch higher elo play, then you see this champ being picked a lot, especially when the player has to blind pick, when he does not know who's going to be the enemy top laner. That's when you can go for this pick. So it's definitely a good champ to have in your pool. Always good to have those champs that can be blind picked, because then it becomes a lot harder to counter pick you. So you can still do well no matter which matchup you're playing against. You have to play really aggressive, especially into those better matchups like the Shen. As I said earlier on, he can do really well into tanks because he has so much max health and true damage. He has max health in his auto attacks as well as ultimate, and then also true damage in his W. So it's a champ designed to do well against tanks. So if you see those being picked, you can go for Sett. There are of course also other champs like the Fiora, but this champ is definitely viable. Play the lane really aggressively, especially if it's a favored matchup. You do not want to let the enemy champ farm for free. Really abuse that E when you have it up. Walk far up, stay between the enemy champ and the minion wave. If they walk up to last hit, E them, and then follow up damage. It does deal a lot of damage if you make sure that you hit target in the center, because as I said, that is true damage. But you can use it to poke with, but be extremely careful if you do not see the enemy jungler on the map, because then there's a very high chance that you're getting ganked, especially if your W is down. You can see that E really gives you that much zoning power, because the enemy champion always has to watch out. They can never walk within melee range. And because you do not use any mana, you can constantly stay in lane because you have that free health regen, so you're gonna keep healing up. And you also don't use any mana, so you can also spam your abilities. So unfortunately we ended up dying here. That's of course because I misplayed. Stayed under the tower for too long because he also had the ignite, so we ended up dying. But you can see, if you get a lead with this champ in the laning phase, then you can easily go for those dives. Just make sure that you set them up properly. In this case, whenever you dive a Shen, you want to make sure that you take out his C. That is his dash, and that is also his only CCing ability. So if you take that out, and then also his zone that makes it so you can auto attack him, then you can go for the dive. Now we have the Blade of the Ruined King, guys. Of course, that gives you a massive one item power spike. For those champs that can build it as the first item, that is going to be the biggest power spike you can get. So make sure that when you do have it, that's when you have to play aggressive. You have to look for plays, even if you can get kills. Make sure that you get a CS lead or something, because it really gives you that big of a power spike, so you really want to make sure that you abuse it. So the Wei right now is in a really good spot, so he's not able to farm, and if he ever tries to walk up, then make sure that you initiate with that E, get the stun off, then follow up with the Qs, auto attacks as well, and then if you can hit that W, of course, that is going to be even more damage. You can see that damage is absolutely crazy. Shen is a champ that's very strong in the early game, so even if he's behind, then he can still look for kills. But because we have so much sustain, then we can easily heal up, and he's not able to do the same. So went for a trade. We were really low HP, but now we're almost full health, and you can see the Shen is still low HP because he does not have any sustain. That is the power of your passive. That's also the power of those lifesteal items. Always play around that E. It's also very important that you hit that W, especially in teamfights, because that is going to be most of your damage. Since you are a melee champ, guys, then you will not be able to get auto attacks off very often in fights, when those team fights start. So the only reliable damage you have at that point is your ultimate and then your W, if you CC them properly. And since your Q gives you bonus movement speed towards the enemy champ, guys, there's like the ability that you use to chase with as well. They have to be visible and they also have to be within range. Then you can use that Q to catch up with. So like if you see somebody running away and they're within kill range and you think you can chase them, then just pop your Q instantly, even though you're not getting the damage off, because it is going to give you the bonus movement speed, so it can help you catch up to people. Because without that, then this is a champ that's pretty easy to kite, because he doesn't really have any real mobility. So if you're playing against a heavy ranged comp, then it is going to be pretty difficult, because they can just constantly kite you, especially if they have slows, hard CC abilities and so on. We have prio, we are winning topside, as we should, because we got that double kill early on in the game. So took down the tower, get some vision into the enemy jungler, taking away her jungle camps, so this is how you punish the jungler as well. Especially if you see the elite ganking, mid and bottom side, you really want to make sure that you punish the enemy jungler as well, because when they come up to the top side, they're going to waste time because there are no camps up, meaning that they will lose some gold and XP as well. You can see how easy it is to zone people away, because they're going to be so scared whenever your E is up, guys. It's such a powerful zoning tool, so you always want to make sure that you abuse it. The build I'm showing right here is a heavy carry build, but you can also play him as a tank, where you just keep building HP items that's going to empower your W. And also makes you very hard to kill, and that's pretty much what makes him such a good blind pick, because he's versatile. If you're playing in a bad matchup, you can just build tank here, and then they can't really do anything to you in the laning phase. Now you have the Trinity Force. That is the highest damaging item you can get. So now you have the Blade of the Ruined King and the Trinity Force. Massive carry potential, guys. You're going to absolutely destroy people. You can see in these fights, I'm always trying to use that ultimate. Always try to knock somebody into one of the allies. Because if you do that, you also get that slow off, but also that damage. Because as long as you manage to do that, then you have at least 2 targets, meaning that your E is going to stun. You stun them, then you follow up with a W for a guaranteed true damage power proc, and that should be enough to burst them down. This is also how you want to use the teleport, guys. Use it to flank with. You always want to make sure that you're using it behind the opponents, because then you have that ultimate up so you can knock them into your team. So always look for those flanking TPs. It's a champ that can easily 1 versus 2 if you have the lead, of course. Very strong in 1 versus 2s. Has extreme amount of damage as well, especially if you use this build. You can just keep straight pushing in the side lane. He can take down towers extremely fast as well, especially if using this build, because you have that Sheen component in the Trinity Force. You're gonna deal a lot of damage to the towers as well. Just keep pressuring in the side lanes. That's even better if you have the lead and you're winning the matchup, because that's how you can pressure. Because Sett is so immobile in teamfights, he's also pretty easy to kite. So unless you can get a really good flank off, you know, get in from the backside, ult somebody into a team. If you cannot do that, then it's probably better to stay in the silence and then pressure. Because then you can maybe force a couple opponents to come and defend against you, and that should give your teammates some time to take down other objectives. You know, stuff like the towers, inner towers, dragons, heralds, and so on. At this point, normally you have boots latest as your second item, but on our second base we had so much gold that we just straight went for the Trinity Force. Now we're going for the mercs because they have so much AP damage, but most of the time you will be building those armor boots. But right now they have 3 AP champs, and then Shen also deals magic damage. Then of course mercs would be the most optimal choice. So we're going for the new Force of Nature here. As I said, you should always build depending on the enemy team comp. In this case, MR would be really good here. And this Force of Nature also got a massive buff. So of course it's one of the best magic resistance items that you can buy right now. So if they have a lot of AP, or if they have a very fit AP champ, then make sure that you get this item. If they did not have that, then I would build into the Sterak's Gauge, and then I would build into something else. In this case, we're going for Force of Nature because we really need that MR instantly. We are a bit squishy right now because we are building damage heavy, so we need some defensive stats. If we did not need that, then I'll go Sterak's Gauge first, of course. But we are still building it in this game, we're just getting it a little bit later. You can see I'm always trying to flank them from the backside, so they end up running into me, or they're going to be at a disadvantage because they will end up getting caught anyway. Always make sure you do that because you want to abuse that ultimate. You want to make sure that you knock the targets into your team so they can help you finish them off. So the targets are wiped out, we're just taking away the jungle camps as well. If you're not able to farm in the mid lane, guys, then just take away the jungle camps, and then maybe you can even take away the objectives. Sometimes you can even solo the Rift Herald. That's a pretty questionable dive by the Via, so we did not follow it up. Because somebody's going for a play, it doesn't mean that you always have to follow up. You really have to think about if this is going to be worth it. What's going to happen if you die? The opponents will get a massive gold bounty, and they will also be able to get the objectives. So if you mess up, that is going to help them come back into the game. So really think about if this is going to be worth it or not, and then just let your teammates die if they make a bad decision. You want to split push a lot, but if you think that your teammates are going to get caught, then of course also group with them. But you don't have to do that if your teleport is ready, because then you can always TP in if something is happening. So if your TP is up, then make sure that you're staying in the side lanes, pressure as much as possible, and then just TP in if they're getting caught. Remember 2 auto attacks, and then you reset the second auto attack with a Q. So the damage comes out a lot faster. That's going to help you push for those objectives as well. Just like that, and that tower is down insanely fast, so you have a lot of power in the side lanes as long as they allow you to split push. We are sitting on a lot of gold. We're going for Force of Nature, as I said earlier on. But against a normal, a standard team comp, you can go for Sterok's Gauge. Also, the thing is, guys, I don't know if I mentioned it early on. During your ultimate animation, you're also going to be unstoppable. Means that you can also use it to counter CC. If you're about to get CC'd and you think that they will chain CC you and kill you, then you can quickly ult someone, because that is going to make you immune to CC, also known as being unstoppable. So you can kind of use that ultimate to avoid CC abilities as well. Because we have so much tenacity, their CCing abilities don't really matter that much right now, because we are sitting on a huge amount of tenacity. And that's of course what makes these runes so OP, because you can really avoid all those CCing abilities, and when you can do that, then you can also avoid the damage. Always try to flank from the backside, so people run into you, and then you ult them into your teammates, get a guaranteed kill. Now when you go into that Super Saiyan mode, that's why your ultimate is going to deal the max, or not your ultimate, but your W is going to deal the maximum amount of damage. So if you can get a Super Saiyan W off, guys, that's going to absolutely shred the entire enemy team. So we misplayed a little bit here. We could of course have killed the Elise a bit early on if I ulted before she got to go into that E, but I'm being a bit greedy with that ultimate because I don't want to waste it. If I can save it, then I would definitely do so. Because if I can save it, then it means that I can go for another kill as well. So sometimes being greedy can end up costing you a lot, so definitely be careful with that and not make the same mistakes that I'm doing. Almost level 16, meaning that we get the final point into the ultimate. So that's going to be like the biggest power spike, because it's going to be on a lot lower cooldown, meaning that you can go for plays more often. Now we also got the soul, of course a massive spike. So we definitely have the lead right now. We are ahead, super far ahead actually. Really want to abuse that. You have so much bonus moon speed, guys, and you're also very hard to kite because of the tenacity. You're just gonna absolutely shred people. So you can be a monster in teamfights as well, but because we are playing a more carry heavy build, then you still have to watch out for the damage, because if they CC you, making you unable to use that W, then you are going to get bursted down fast. So definitely be careful with the positioning, especially when you play this carry heavy Sett build. It doesn't matter that much when you play him with the tanky version, where just build a lot of HP, because then you really want to take damage, so your W can deal a lot of damage. Take away the jungle camps as well. Just deny the enemy team everything. That's really gonna set them behind and also reduce the chances of getting back into the game. So really want to abuse that. Just make them suffer as much as possible. That's basically solo queue. Never give them any chances. You just want to end the game as soon as possible and just go next. And it is a champ that's strong in every single elo, guys. It's not a champ that's only strong in low or high elo. It's a champ that's strong in every single elo and almost every single season as well. Because he's always a decent pick. He's never useless, always a solid pick, so you don't have to worry about balance changes. Because even if they nerf items like the Gore Drinker, you still have all the items that you can build. In this case, we're going for the Trinity Force. That's going to make you more of a carry heavy champ. So I have much higher solo carry potential. So if you like playing this champ, then I can highly recommend picking him up. He's also pretty simple. He doesn't really have any advanced mechanics. Other than that W flash, which is also pretty easy to use. So he has a pretty simple kit, guys, so anyone can pick him up. You see that damage we are dealing. When you're able to knock that tank into the squishy targets, you're going to absolutely shred them. Last item, we're going for some AoE damage, but that's going to be the item that gives you some health as well. So become a little bit tankier. And also because your W, the grid passive, also scales off of your HP, you're able to store more damage, making you deal more damage in return as well. Just keep pushing here. You also have a lot of sustain, so if that's a single minion wave, then you can easily heal back up. Just hold the target, and like 90% of the time they either have to flash out or they end up dying, so it really has so much pressure. So I got the middle side, guys. So of course we don't want to go mid anymore unless you can straight up end the game. When the mid inhibitor's down, then go to one of the side lanes, because if you just keep going mid, then you're going to waste time unless you can end the game. You get that bonus moon speed from your Q, but also for the Blade of the Ruined King when you get to auto attack. So that is really going to help you catch up to these targets later on in the game. So this is the carry version of Sett. I can highly recommend trying it out. You can also go for Gold Ringer. That is this other mythic item that you normally build. They have these options. But this was how to play Sett. I hope this was helpful. As always, thank you so much for watching, and see you all in the next video.